Hello, my name is Matthew, and I'll be presenting the presentation on leveraging IoT and dashboarding for setting up a smart e-bike using Altair SmartWorks. So before I go into the project, I kind of want to talk about my history and a little bit about my background and how I got introduced to Altair and how I learned to work with SmartWorks. So a little bit about myself. I am a recent graduate that majored in mechanical engineering, and during our senior year, we have something called a capstone project. Is basically an engineering project that we work on over the span of 5 to 6 months, and this is where I was able to be introduced to Altair. And Altair presented the idea of integrating SmartWorks IoT platform with an e-bike, and that e-bike would respond to biometric information or data from a rider and adjust the motor assist depending on the data it would receive. So for example, the user has very high BPM, then we'll kick in the motor assist so that it will help the rider kind of alleviate the tension and pressure of riding, right? And this is supposed to assist a little bit older folks or people who have injuries on their legs or anywhere. So basically just to alleviate the pressure of riding and kind of let them enjoy a nice ride without much pressure or with ease. So to kind of go into our design overview of our project, so you can see that we got a microcontroller and casing inside that white box. And then basically that microcontroller will be sending data to Panopticon, which is a tool within SmartWorks for data analysis and visualization. And it will also receive data from our sensors, so which is our power meter pedals and our heart rate sensor from that's attached to the user. And all that information will be calculated inside the microcontroller to output a voltage into the mid-drive motor, which basically say, hey, our user needs a little assistance, bump up the voltage, which bumps up the speed or power on the motor. And then finally, we got our user interfaces. It was a website where the user can kind of start a ride and see their data as the ride is ongoing. So here's a little demo of our project at the end. So let me just start off that video for you. So here I am basically typing in my information, and then now I'm going to wait for the microcontroller, also known as the ESP32, to make that connection. So I'm waiting, and while I'm waiting, I have a heart rate sensor underneath my shirt that's attached that's reading my BPM. So now I hop on the bike, my heart rate's increasing, and you'll see that assist level is getting bumped up, and that means the motor is powering the bike even faster, which makes it easier for me to ride. And then down there, you can see the data graph that is within Panopticon. It's receiving the data in real time and plotting it. So to kind of go over the project, I want to talk about the different components and how they interact with each other to kind of give you guys a little bit of background on how IoT works and kind of simplify or just make it easier to see the big picture of what's going on. So on the left, we got our sensors, which is sending data to our ESP32 or any microcontroller capable of Wi-Fi MQTT connection. So it's doing it through BLE, which is Bluetooth Low Energy, or it's hardwired, so sending data straight to the microcontroller. And it does its calculations to output a voltage that will go to the e-bike motor. So depending on the data it receives, it will increase the voltage or decrease it depending on what the user needs. And the ESP32 will connect to the MQTT broker through MQTT connection, and also interact with a REST API through HTTP requests, right? And then from there, it will send data to our web app or phone through HTTP, and it'll also display that data on Panopticon, which is already integrated into SmartWorks, which is why it's indicated in red. So this is kind of the big overview of what's going on. So it kind of looks complicated at first, but once you kind of look into it more, it becomes very simple, and using SmartWorks should not be daunting. Given my background, I didn't know a lot about IoT, but interacting with SmartWorks over time and looking at the documentation that they already have, don't feel afraid. It's a lot of fun, and you can quickly learn as well, which I did, so don't feel too pressured. So now I'm going to go into a demonstration of my project that I've been working on. So this project's main goal is to act as a launch pad for your own projects. And it's more of a template. So it can help people who kind of want to follow a tutorial and just start their own IoT project and kind of learn the steps along the way. or you can feel free to just take some pieces, components of the project and apply to your own and make your own IoT projects, because I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot of creative ideas out there, which would be really cool to see in the future. So don't feel you have to follow this tutorial to a T. Feel free to take advantage of whatever best suits your needs. Another thing is, before I go into this demonstration is more to show you what the end product should look like and how things interact with one another. If you ever feel confused or not sure what's going on, I have a written tutorial that goes into more technical detail of what's going on in this demonstration. So please consult that tutorial to know what's going on the technical level and a little bit more in depth. Okay, so don't feel too confused or scared. Okay, so let's start right now. I have my two web apps here. So I use Streamlit, which is basically a web app that runs on a Python framework. The reason why I chose this is because it's very easy for anyone to make their own web app and within minutes. It's very simple, easy, and I think it's good for anyone who wants to hop in, just do it like that. But then feel free to use your own method of choice, for example, like JavaScript website or something else that uses HTML, something like that. So this app basically is where we begin our ride. So you can see this button and input your own information. And then my second web app here is where I'll be doing some data visualization on top of Panopticon. The reason why I do this separately is so that this app can be shared with many people, so they all can view the data at the same time without putting bogus information into the user input app. So let's begin. So first, I'll begin my ride. So when I begin my ride, I get this UID, right? This is your unique identifier of a thing that you've created. So here, let me get rid of that. So these are rides that are preloaded. But then if I refresh, you can see that the new ride has been created, right? With 8px, which is 8px. So we know that that's just has been created. So now let's input my information. Matthew. I kind of feel like going on a leisure ride, and I'm 24 years old. I'm gonna submit that information. So when I submit that information, the properties inside my ride should be updated. So boom. So you see leisure ride, Matthew, and the age 24. And the state is set to opened, which is basically a way for the microcontroller to know, hey, send data to this thing. It is open to receive data. Okay, so now since I have that thing created, I'm gonna open up my Visual Studio Code. So here I've already preloaded the program into the microcontroller. So you can upload here, but now I'm just gonna open the serial monitor port, which will show us the data that's being sent. So terminate task, and then restart it. Okay, so now the task is going to be running. So basically what it's going to be doing is setting up, connecting to Wi-Fi and making that MQTT connection. And while it's doing that, it will start this function that I have made in SmartWorks, which will get the UID and the MQTT username of the newly created thing. And the reason why I do that is to simplify the code for you, so you don't have to find that information yourself and upload it into the code. It'll kind of do that for you. So it makes it a bit easier. So you can see here, the main function has been invoked, and then now it has connected to Wi-Fi, connected to MQTT thing connection, and now here is sending the data up. So we can go to my newly created thing, press raw history, and now you can see the data being sent in real time. So I'm going to copy and paste this UID over here and paste it, press enter. So now this is the dashboard app. And now let's see the stats. Now you can see the stats here. So I'm going to breathe on the sensor to kind of increase the humidity. So boom. So you can see that the visualization is happening in real time. You can see the delta. So this is kind of show you how you can use these web apps to interact with SmartWorks IoT through the REST API, right? So there's so much you can do with SmartWorks in terms of IoT, and it's really fun and can be like, you can be super creative with how you create your projects. So on top of that, we have this web app working as it should. So now I'm going to disconnect my sensor because I'm basically done with that portion. And now I kind of want to show you also what you can do with Panopticon. So here is Panopticon, which you can, if you click on this real-time visualization tab, there's gonna be something called workbooks. Just click into that and you can create your own dashboard. So here I've kind of used previous ride data. So here you can see that there's two things. I'm comparing the data and you have a filter here. So I just want to see the second ride. I want to see the first ride. So that's all up to you. And you can see all the ride data of previous users. So here's their names, ride type, age, and the last recorded data points. And here for thing analysis, I'm more focusing on one ride. So here we can see we got a little spike in humidity, drops, we got the temperature. And then here, category analysis is basically comparing all the different rides that have happened in the past. For this example, I used 2 rides. So we can see the comparison between the two. Like this first ride had an early spike, while this one had a later spike. Second ride had a consistent 24 degrees Celsius temperature reading, while here we see a little spike and down. So that's basically like all I wanted to show you in terms of demonstration. And you can see here that, of course, in Panopticon, you can do whatever you want within Panopticon. The tools they offer is quite vast, and there's a lot of existing documentation out there. So don't feel afraid to just hop on in and just play around with it and see what you can get interacting with one another and see what type of data you can display. And then as you can see, the sensor I used here was humidity and temperature, but then you can use any type of sensors out there. So we've used a pressure sensor, you can use a heart rate sensor, you can use like GPS data sensors. There's a lot of things you can work with, and that kind of opens the project up to you guys to see what type of sensors you can use to achieve your various goals, right? So again, this project is a template, a launchpad for your own projects. So please feel free to take use the concepts that are in the written tutorial to kind of expand on your own projects and your own goals. So thank you for listening, and I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with SmartWorks IoT, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.